My long-awaited book, Astrology Realized, is finally available and waiting for you at Amazon and other online retailers. Get one for you, your loved one, or as a gift. All part of your fabulous journey to understanding astrology. Enjoy. Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to this episode of Nadiya Shah Productions. I am your host, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Well, I must admit, I am a little nervous. I'm not really sure what to do, and I don't know if all the questions are going to come out right. And that's because Deborah Houlding is here, author of Temples in the Sky, The Houses. And it's not just because of her book, but actually when I was in graduate school, her name would come up constantly because she's brilliant, because she's articulate, and because her work has integrity. She is one of the people who has been instrumental in making all of us aware of traditional astrology techniques, guiding philosophies, and history. She is internationally known among astrologers. If you're an astrologer, you know her name, and you're probably really excited right now, and you totally understand why I feel the way I do right now. Please, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful that you are here to help me celebrate Deborah Houlding. Deborah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for bringing your positive energy, because as soon as Deborah walked in, she just hugged me, and it was like we were old friends, and that was so nice of you. And so what inspired your journey to be directed towards traditional astrology? Well, first of all, no. How do you define traditional astrology? Let's start there.
Oh, right. Well, that's interesting, because I have this thing about I'm not a traditional astrologer. I'm a modern astrologer, and, you know, I just do astrology. But I would say that ever since I really got turned on with astrology, part of that has been the sense of exploring not the tradition of astrology, but the tradition of human spirit, I suppose, you know, the thread that binds us. And so I do get quite passionate about astrology's tradition, being something that's been passed on from one generation to another, exploring works of astrologers in history and in the past. And I guess for me, because when I read some of the works and what they have to say, I don't feel a sense of time and distance. What I feel is that somebody who felt the same way about astrology that I do, that was committed to it, that was inspired by it, that wanted to write about it or communicate about it, was saying what they had to say. And it doesn't matter how many generations pass, they reach out to future astrologers, and you connect and you listen. So for me, it's all about connections and, you know, the past, and going through the past, and how certain astrologers in the past have suffered to do what they've done, and that we take up a legacy of what other people have done, and so many people have inputted into this. So I guess I do get quite spiritual in the sense that we have to honour that, and we have to explore it and understand it before we mess about with it, and we don't discard things, you know, without contemplation. And so, yeah, it's a drive for me. What I describe as traditional astrology is anything, really. There's no point where I think it captures what I'm interested in. It branches off, it passes through generations, it changes, and we're living the tradition now, and the tradition is going to extend into the future. So the future of astrology is the tradition of astrology. So, you know, that's, I guess, where I feel on this. It's a bit of a, you know, strange answer, but...
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And can I ask, what are the years, like is there a particular period of time that you find especially fascinating or especially drawn to?
I find them all fascinating when I connect at a personal level with something that's been written or said. So for everything for me, there has to be a sense of humanity coming across. And when you feel the emotion in something, that's when I can get hooked in. There's no particular period of time. At the moment, I'm really I'm fascinated and wanting to spend more time to explore, you know, around the 6th and 7th centuries, and when the focus really moved into Arabia and how it spread at that time. And, there's regions such as Khorasan in Persia, which I think has had such a tremendous influence and impact. And at the moment, it's not really been seen, the contribution that it made. And the more that I go into it, the more excited as I discover, I think, oh, wow, that's so interesting. And, it really depends on what I'm looking at. I find it all fascinating. But without doubt, it's no secret that, I'm a big champion of William Lilly's Christian astrology. And I guess that, when I go back to something, I go back to, that style of astrology, which really...
Horary astrology you're talking about, Horary.
Yeah.
So why do you love Horary? Can you first explain what Horary is?
Horary astrology is where you draw up a chart specifically to ask a question that has to be, quite a serious matter. It has to be an issue, but the chart exists in order to explore and find the solution to that issue. So it's not just about predicting the answer to a question, as many people think it is. But the idea of horary is that it's the extension of a problem, and it's asking for guidance. So you can explore it in different ways, and you can do different things with it. And sometimes it is something quite practical, and sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's spiritual, and sometimes, mostly, it's a combination of them all. And I think what I like about horary is the fact that, it should have quite a strong emotional investment. So it eliminates, which I don't have a lot of time for, is, the please talk about me, please talk about my life and what's going to happen in the distant future that's not even upon me yet. And, I don't really work very well with that kind of inquiry.
Why, do you think?
First of all, I don't want to spend my time talking about what somebody else is. Because I think we all know what we are if we do some self-reflection. And, wherever somebody is at, there is only so much help you can give them unless they're in a crisis point, which is where I feel moved to get involved and try and give a helping hand. Horary involves people being at crisis points. And I think when you move beyond that, there's a danger when people say they want to know about this and they want to know about that. The traditional techniques that I work with and I've seen work are very probing, and my view is that most people are not, in our generation, in this culture, are not really in their own mind to know the answers or to want to know the answers of the things they ask. So, they could be asking things like, will I, or whatever it is that they want to know.
They don't really want to know the answer?
It's almost as if they just want somebody to sit and tell them something positive about how this is, you're on this path, or this is something. It's just not me. Some people work really well with it. And I don't want to decry anybody else's techniques or other branches of astrology, because I'm constantly amazed and full of respect for what other astrologers do, but I have to be aware that this is not what I do. For example, I know that you gave an interview to Stephen Forrest, and I thought it was a wonderful interview. And he would be, I think he said there that what I do is not for him. I think of it like there's some people that are doctors. I'm not. I'm somebody that's going to go when somebody needs some A&E, and I do what I can, and I come out, and I don't like to have ongoing clients. I do have clients that repeat on me, but I see them. I don't like to encourage them to see me very often, because I think there's also some level where I don't think we should turn to astrology for all the answers. The answers are within us. And so I have to be sure that somebody has understood that they've made all the commitments they need to make as a person before they turn to somebody else to give them, everything that they should be exploring for themselves as a person. So I don't know. That's probably.
I think that clearly you know a lot.
If I'd have thought about that question, I would have given you a better answer, I can promise you.
Well, that was brilliant as it was, trust me. So, writing, because so many people know you through your writing. What inspires that process and what you share? I was thinking earlier when you were talking about your curiosity and how it leads you, and I thought, wow, when you trust that, it's as if you're trusting that, and then you create work and you write things that end up being meaningful to so many people.
Yeah. The strange thing is that I do such a lot of writing, and yet, you know, I've only published one book, which was quite a simple book, really. I mean,
Right, but it was hugely influential, and anyone
people
who
keep saying to me, "When are you going to publish your next book?" And I have all these almost finished books that, you know, they're almost finished. There's quite a few of them, and I don't feel in any rush to publish them because, you know, there's one or two that I think I only want it to be done before I go. You know, it's like I take my time with it. I want to make it right. But in between, I do a lot of writing, a lot of publishing, things that go out as articles or tuition material on Skyscript, for example. Lots of magazine articles. And what motivates me is have gone through the process of trying to find an answer for myself and found it very difficult. And then I've found a way to explain it, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction. And I guess thinking about this here, I remember one of the things that I liked about William Lilly's Christian Astrology. On the 3rd volume, he talks about primary directions. I struggled with that a lot. In fact, I've learnt primary directions manually so many times, and I've taught it, and then I've forgotten it again, and then relearnt it, and then forgotten it again, because I'm not great with maths, so I have to really, you know, be in it, in the process of it. But in his book, there's a passage where he teaches it, and he was the one that made me understand it, but he explains everything in great depth and systematically one at a time. And he says something like, "I apologise for going into so much detail, but when I was a student I found this very difficult, and so I want to make sure that everything that I struggled with is made clear to you." And as the reader, I'm thinking, oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. It's not too simple, you know, it's not too long, thank you, that's just how I need it. And I think it gives me satisfaction to know that when I've struggled with something, or something appeared to be difficult, or or maybe something I just didn't understand, like a historical point, I go on a trail. Where's it come from? I need to understand. I want to, you know more about this. And the writing is the purpose that I do it, but actually it's a self-exploration, and there is a good sense of satisfaction when you can put, you know, something to a conclusion and think, well, that's that for today. But, you know, I'm driven. There's a question that I want to answer for myself. So it's a structure. It's giving me the focus that I need to make sure that I do what I need to do.
I'm so glad that you have trusted your curiosity, and it has led to amazing work. I know I'm grateful for it, that so many people are grateful for it. Thank you so much for being here, Deborah Houlding.
Thank you for having me there. Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here for this episode of Nadiya Shah Productions, celebrating Deborah Houlding. Until we connect again, take care.